Hello and welcome back to the Not Loads From YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks. Today's Euro 2020 finals video is with former Scotland international, former Scotland coach Stuart McCall. Please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I've had two of these episodes out this week already, one with former SFA Chief Executive Stuart Regan and the other with former St Mirren Academy manager David Longwell, who brought through the likes of John McGinn and Ken McLean into the senior fold, as well as some of the players we know at Scotland under 21s and under 19s level currently. So different variety of conversation in those topics. And this one follows another different line of conversation. Stuart, well accustomed to playing at the Euros with Scotland. He's been in and around these major tournaments back in the day, but now it's time for a new generation of heroes. The next Stuart McCall, so to speak. Stuart speaks about his time just now, what he's up to just now after leaving his managerial posts earlier this season down south. Speaks to us about his memories with the Scotland national team, different bits and bobs about what comes with representing the national team at a major tournament, as well as talk about the current squad ahead of Monday's fixture. So we hope you do enjoy. Please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel ahead of that fixture on June 14th against Czech Republic. England to follow before Croatia on the road to Scotland winning the Euros next month in July. So as I've already said, do remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, take it easy. I don't know, I'm assuming you probably watched the Holland game last night as we record this. Really quite positive. You don't want to be too optimistic with Scotland, but it was hard not to be with that.
No, terrific. I said before the game, I thought it's more about, and funny enough, Steve Clark said it afterwards, it was more about the performance we made rather than the result. Obviously, we didn't want to go get beat 4 or 5-0 or anything, but it was, and I think we got both. We got the performance and the result. Having said that, it could have been a better result and probably deserved to be a victory. But no, I thought from the very off, I thought the way they started the game, first 5 or 10 minutes were excellent. Got a terrific goal. I mean, just prior to Henry's goal, Taney had done the same, playing as a left centre back. He'd stepped in and had a shot just whistle wide, and then a good bit of pressing again. And Henry hits a terrific strike. Disappointed with obviously the goal to lose. I think obviously Turnbull is a more attack-minded midfielder and would normally play as a 10 or attacking. So when he's playing in that area of the park, he's obviously got to be aware of his defensive responsibilities. And obviously Depay runs off him a little bit, but it's something he'll learn from. And their goals is a well-taken goal as well, to be fair. But we come out, and I don't think people notice. I mean, I know Andy Robertson's coming for a little bit of criticism from sort of Scotland fans or the press in Scotland that he doesn't perform as well as he does for Liverpool. But I think last night just showed his dedication, his commitment. He actually wins the ball. I think it's about 2 yards outside our own 6-yard box with a back post header. And as soon as he heads it clear, he's then on his bike, his desire and drive to run 70, 80 yards on an overlap. And then he does what, he's been doing all his career, puts a fantastic ball in. And Nisbet, who's come on, takes it with aplomb. So good goals. Their goal, I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's not a free kick on the edge of the box. If it had been a qualifier or a game in the Euros, I think we'd have been going mental about it. You let it ride because it's a friendly. And then the free kick's a good one. Having said that, I think we always say, if the boy goes over the wall, fair enough. He goes in the side of the goalie's got to look after it. So I think Craig might look at himself for that one, even though it's a terrific free kick. But all in all, to answer your question to start with, really promising performance. A lot of the players will have come off the park feeling good about themselves. Confidence will be high. And I think all in all, I think Steve will be absolutely delighted with what he saw last night.
I think you don't want to see mistakes or goals conceded by the national team, but in some ways in a game like this, perhaps you do, because you are going to play players like Memphis Depay and things like that at the Euros. And if you play Czech Republic, you maybe don't get punished for that. But when you're playing against these top-class players, you do one mistake and then they're putting goals in the net like he did.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not a huge mistake. The first goal, it's a ball in the box and knocked back. And he's just got the other side of our midfield and he's struck it well. As I said, the second one, it should never be a free kick in the first place. And other than that, I don't think Craig's had a great. I think they put a little bit of pressure on the last 10, 15 minutes. But I don't think he's had one terrific save near post from a deflection. But other than that, I don't think he's had a great deal to do. We've had Tierney's shot just whistle by. We've had Dykes' shot. Turnbull had a great effort, just go wide of the post. So I thought, especially when you take it that, without probably, 7 players, and maybe, without doubt, McGinn and McTominay, certainly, down the right-hand side for Forrest to play there as a wing-back, showed he could do it. Armstrong had a lot of energy in the middle of the park. I thought Cooper coming there and, slotted in well. So there were a lot of positives from the fringe-type guys as well.
It's been a wee while. It's the first major tournament I think Scotland have been to in my lifetime. Not to try and make you feel too old, but it's definitely you don't want it to be that once in a generation thing. I don't think you don't want it to be I'm getting to near my 40s or things like that, and to be the next one. It has to be the start of being every couple of years for these.
And I think the good thing is when you look at the age of the squad, I think the 4 top class players we've got, Robertson, Tierney, McTominay and McGinn, are all at good age. I think when you look at the underbelly, we talk about Turnbull. Billy Gilmore came on last time, had a couple of really good passes. Looked as though he's training with a cream. They've just won the Champions League at Chelsea, and when he plays for them, he stands out. Obviously Patterson at Rangers as well. Maybe Ryan Gold will come back into frame, but I think we've got some good youngsters as well. So Steve's got the nucleus of a promising squad that hopefully will make it. That we haven't just qualified for this one and then don't do for another 20 odd years. Yeah,
it's a bit of an odd. There's a lot of players in that squad that have had to go the long way round. I mean, wasn't it that long ago you were trying to get Tom Hateley to mark Andy Robertson at Fir Park for Dundee United? You've had the guy Jack Hendry and Kevin Nisbet both scored last. Both get put out the back door at Partick Thistle a few seasons ago. So there's a lot of resilience in that squad. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Andy Robertson's the key one as well, isn't he? He got let go early as a kid at Celtic, went to Queen's Park, then to obviously Dundee United. I think he scored nearly every time he played Motherwell. Little monkey he is. But I think as you look round it, there's and even look last night a big Craig Gordon. Craig's been away off the scene. He goes away from Celtic, goes to Hearts and rejuvenates himself and gets back in there. So there's a lot of players. I mean, if you'd have asked Stephen O'Donnell and Big Declan Gallagher if they thought they'd be qualifying and being in a Scotland side going into Euros, a couple of seasons ago, you could never have seen that happening. And other players in and about it. John McGinn's gone from strength to strength naturally. But yeah, there's a lot of, it seems to have a really good spirit about in the camp and about the club, like a club side at the moment.
It's probably been lacking from the Scotland teams for a wee while now. There's so much chop and change for the last wee while. This has been the first run in a long time anyway. You've sort of had, who's going to be in the squad before it comes out most of the time. Yeah.
I think there's people who push that, and go back, 4 years ago, maybe a bit longer than that, when I worked with Gordon and the Scotland setup, and we were close a couple of times, certainly in the group where we had Germany, Poland, the Republic. We should definitely got into the playoffs that season. We just missed out. And it was one game each tournament we just seemed to, mess up in. But we had a decent group back then. A lot of players that were playing Premier League. But I don't think we had the quality we've got in certain areas, as I say. I think there's players there that are really top draw players. Previous campaigns, we've had some good players, really decent players. I'll go back to Morrison and Snodgrass at the time. Obviously, Scott Brown was playing in the middle of the park. Kenny Miller up top, Naismith when he was at his prime. But I think in McTominay, I keep saying McGinn, Tierney and Robertson, these are all playing at the top level in the Premier League and standing out for the clubs as well, so which is, it augurs brilliant for the future, allied with, some really good, solid professionals as well.
You probably just missed out on that with Gordon, that you probably were getting the Andy Robertsons, Kieran Tierney's and things like that just about breaking into the squad, but not enough to make the impact they're making now. Perhaps if you'd had an extra year with them or things like that, you could be potentially on the bus or plane, whatever it is they're on,
Yeah, you never. But I remember we played, or we went to watch Scotland under 21s, and then we brought a few of them into the group, and Andy Robertson stood out straight away. So Gordon wanted to get him promoted into in the first team squad as soon as we could, which we did. And there were others on the periphery, but it was more of an aging squad. There's a lot of players that we had obviously have now retired. And it's time for some young ones to come through. But the key is, having some good youngsters coming through. And I think, as I said, we've got that in Turnbull, Patterson, certainly Billy Gilmore at this moment look to have potential to go on and have good careers for themselves at national level.
No, even in the squad just now, I mean, you've got a lot of players there who could play 6-7 years in the national team. But even below that, I think Scott Gemmell's new batch under 21s were sort of playing also yesterday for the first time. There's a lot of guys in there who are sort of 18, 19, couple of them at Liverpool, Manchester City and things like that. So even below the actual senior team, there's probably a base of players that potentially next 10, 15 years be seeing a lot.
Yeah. I think that's what we need, don't we? We need this teams to be. I think we've had it in the past where we've had good groups up to 16 and 18 and then got to the 21s, and for whatever reason, that development between 18 and 21, they've sort of gone sideways or backwards a little bit. We've done well in certain tournaments and then not really taking it a step further, or then players haven't sort of developed as well as we would like. So it's all about development. It's okay having potential now, which it's great that we've got, kids, as you said, Scottish players playing down for likes of Man City in the youth groups and that. But it's actually going and fulfilling that potential, what we need. So hopefully it's looking bright as a future, yeah.
In terms of yourself, I'm sure you've been asked about it enough times by people more than me, but does it feel a wee while ago since like 1990 and times like that for a player?
Yeah, listen, everyone keeps talking about, is it 23 years since we qualified? It's so depressing to hear that. It's not depressing now because we've actually qualified, but running up to every tournament, it's got to be this time for Scotland, got to be this time. I was fortunate when I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, we were at World Cups every 4 years almost. And then fortunate when I was playing 90, 92, 96, 98, we qualified for every tournament in 90s apart from the 94 one in the World Cup. So, yeah, it's 30 odd year ago since Italia 90 years. But good to be back now at a tournament. Hopefully we can make the most of it naturally.
I was going to ask about that. I think every time it comes around to a major tournament, see Craig Brown's in the back of the papers again. Guys like yourself are sort of usually the guys always called upon to speak about it because you're only the guys with the experience, generation. You might actually look forward to perhaps after this tournament your phone quieting down slightly.
No, I'll never get tired of talking about Scotland, but I understand what you mean. Yeah, no, even that thing yesterday that we did at Torry Glen, you're getting asked questions to reminisce and go back to the Euros and things like that. And yeah, it's always good to look back because they were exciting times for Scotland, because we were qualifying and we were, typical glorious failure for Scotland. We're so near to getting through to the next phase on a couple of occasions, and with a bit of lady luck or whatever it was, just eluded us. But we had some decent players in that. I think we had a good group of players, to be honest, but just couldn't go that step further. But when for example, you look at Euro 92, for example, and you look at the Dutch and they beat us 1-0, and you look, it was Hullet crossing, Van Basten flicking on, Rijkaard knocking it out of Bergkamp. They're not four brilliant players, they're world-class players. So that with the quality we were up against in them days, and we pushed them to 1-0. So we used to do decent against the big sides.
I think perhaps that's lost in my generation a wee bit because even for me, I know the names Hullet and Bergkamp and stuff, but
I know,
couldn't tell you anything about them. But
exactly, and I speak about it thinking about my generation. People maybe 10, 20 years younger than me will go, "Oh yeah, Bergkamp, what a player he was at Arsenal." Hullet, unbelievable player, and the Dutch at that time were. But what I'm saying is, just to put it on they weren't just top players. They were world class. All them four, and that's what we were up against in a lot of them tournaments. Brazil, the Germans. but we always manage to win one game at a tournament, and I think that's key to make sure you send the punters home happy at some stage of the tournament. And I think that's what we've got to do this tournament. You know, if we win one game and maybe draw another one, hopefully we can go through. You know, obviously half the best third place finishers go through as well. So, you know, we're still positive that if we can aim for the second place or even the top place, but, you know, if we can get through anyway to get through the next phase and make history, that'd be brilliant.
I think it'll definitely be challenging. I don't think it's quite I think there's a group with France, Portugal and Germany in it, which is poor Hungary in that group are probably going to be in for Hastings in it. But in terms of, it's still going to be difficult. Like 2018 World Cup finalists are in it. England, despite the fact they'll get to the last 16 and get put out, will still be decent in the group stages. Czech Republic are already, as you know, fairly decent. So it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not. But I mean, a good look at the record against Croatia. I think we're unbeaten against them. I know, again, going back to when I was working with Scotland under Gordon, we went there and beat them 1-0 in their backyard, and they were the fourth ranked team, best in the world. And I think we beat them back at Hampden 2-0. So I think yesterday, I think we played them 5 times over in the history and not been beat by them. So that's a nice little omen. Czech Republic, your first game, yeah, as much as you want to win it, I think the key is not to get beat in your first game, as we did, you know, in Italia 90 and Euro 92, Euro 96, we nicked a draw against Holland, which set us up at least to give us an opportunity in the last game to go through, which we almost did. But I think the key in the tournament is not to lose your first game, because then that just makes that second game, you know, all the more sort of pressure on you. If you can get some out of the first game, you can still afford to lose the second one, but then you've got to obviously win your last one. Yeah,
it's that second game. I think not even just Scotland fans and England fans that are talking about it. I think it's probably, in terms of the group stages, it's probably one of the showpiece matches really for the tournament at that stage.
Yeah, without a doubt. So what age are you now? Can you remember Euro 96?
Oh, I'm 2001, so I'm 3 out for 1998. So I literally remember 0. I can watch the highlights. And stuff and go, don't know who that is. I think I've got a rough idea who that is.
Well, I go back to talk about Scotland League. I go back to 1981 when I was 17, and I travelled down from Leeds on my tartan gear on, stopped at every service station, got scarves, see you, Jimmy Wiggs and everything. I was a 17-year-old. And in them days, it's hard for you to, don't know, your dad or your granddad or whatever would tell you. But in them days, in the 80s, Scotland used to have 70,000 fans at Wembley. And that's no lie. So then back in 96, we had 7,500 fans, which sounded like 70,000. And I think this season, or this tournament, we're going to have 2,700, which again, I'm sure they'll make themselves heard. Because just to have fans in the stadium now, even at Hampden, so it was going to be, a quarter full. For the players who have not been used to having any people in the stadium, that will sound like a full house. It'll seem the atmosphere. I think you only have to watch the Champions League, the playoff games in England, even with limited crowds. The atmosphere is incredible, you know, because we've been used to nobody in the stadium. So I'm sure it'll lift. So I think this campaign to get through first and foremost was key, but then to have 2 games at your own stadium and now have the fans back in, hopefully the omens are looking good for us.
I always think it's a bit weird. I always thought with Europe, maybe went to places like South Africa. It's been one of the World Cups in Russia, and then we actually get to a major tournament and it's 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah,
a bit odd, but I don't know. I don't know if home advantage counts as being a weird one, because all season when you're speaking to managers in the Premiership, international managers, do the fans make a difference? I think it's a dead cliche question to ask after so many years. I'm sure you probably get asked it down when you were at Bradford and things like that. But I was at Morton v Airdrie and Kilmarnock v Dundee for the season finished with 500 fans, and it's crazy. You didn't really notice perhaps the 5,000 or 6,000 before we're aware of them, but you perhaps heard of the noise. But with 500 back in after a year out, it's crazy the difference it makes.
It is, and it's not a cliche. It's exactly true. I played in the one of the pilot schemes when I was managing earlier on in the season at Forest Green. Now the Forest Green only holds probably 4,000, but they were allowed 1,000 in. And see, from absolutely near nothing, all you need is like 50 people behind the goal with a drum, and the atmosphere is solely different. You know, you have a shot at goal or get a corner, and the noise that even a small band can make. So, yeah, it makes it so better to watch than even on the TV. And I've been to one since I've stopped managing. I've been to one game. It was a Rangers St Johnstone game. We were working for the TV at Ibrox, and to hear the players shouting for the ball at the far end of the, you know, it was just you're thinking this can't keep going on, because it was, you know, soul destroying. It was just, but anyway, it's hopefully we're moving in the right direction now. We can start getting, because that's what it's about. Football's about supporters. There's no doubt about that. You know, the game won't last if this carried on for another year. The game won't last without fans. I mean, the players getting bored, fed up, not demotivated, I would say, to an extent. But the lift it'll give to everyone will be enormous. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I know it's a bit of a tangent. It's not really connected to the Scotland national team in the end, but like guys coming up here, like to your former club Mull and teams like that, they're coming up. Teams like Forest Green Rovers, like you said, staying in a flat in DL Park, not seeing anybody for 12 months, and then back to the road without ever seeing fans again. So
Yeah.
It's hard for everybody. It's hard for the players because they're so probably disconnected for the fans and vice versa as well.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need your connection. You need, you know, even just going to a game now and seeing people queuing up outside the hot dog store or buying programs. But you need that connection between your punters and you, especially if you, like as you said, you go to a new club, and you just don't get that. But as I said, you know, it's looking like we're on the right track now, and you know, it won't be hopefully too long before we see in full stadium again.
Yeah, for you then, what are your plans for the summer? Is it just kick back and watch Euros, and are you on the job market again, or with
no, I bits and bobs of media, little different things over I think I'm going to take a week out up somewhere north of Scotland in a caravan for a week, because I think the weather's going to be lovely, and yeah, just enjoy the football. I think from a job point perspective, at the moment I've not got a desperate desire, especially until we get supporters back in the stadium. You can have that, you know, relationship with fans. I've no immediate itch to get back yet. I'm sure that might come soon once the season starts next year and we start, you know, as I say, getting that buzz back with fans in the ground. Because it not only affects it, well, I can only speak for myself, it not only affects players, but it affects me. There's no doubt about that. I don't get the same adrenaline rush as I do when I was standing on the touchline with nobody there, and when there was like 15,000 there at Bradford, you know. So it certainly worked against me negatively, without a doubt.